Hey y'all, welcome back. My name is Christina, and one of my favorite things to talk about when it comes to parenting is the baby whisperer. So most of my channel involves videos about the baby whisperer Tracy Hogg and her book and the ways that I implemented her techniques with my daughter, who is now 20 months old. In this video, I'm going to go off of her book a little bit and talk about how I'm preparing my daughter for having our baby number 2. So I'm currently 36 weeks pregnant, so we're looking in the next month to be having another addition to our family. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about how in the last few months I have been preparing my 20-month-old for becoming a big sister. Now, a lot of the things I'm going to talk about are found in Tracy Hogg's book. She doesn't necessarily talk about how to prepare your toddler for having a new baby in the house, but most of the things that she does talk about in the book are very helpful and applicable for if you are going to have a major life change like a new baby. So I've been just drawing a lot of ideas from her book on how I can prep my daughter, and I also draw a lot of my ideas from Montessori technique and philosophy. I'm not really a Montessori mom, but I do like a lot of the things about Montessori philosophy, and I do try to apply a lot of it to my daughter's daily life. And so I'll point out when I am drawing something directly from Montessori ideas or from Tracy Hogg's book. So I kind of just broke everything down into 5 major ideas. So the first way I'm preparing my daughter is by having a slower bedtime routine. Obviously, Tracy Hogg tackles a lot of issues around bedtime delays and like bedtime issues that can happen when you have a toddler, and that kind of sprouts from the whole idea of like sleep training and teaching your child sleep. Even if you do sleep train at a young age, you'll see your toddler as they grow older start to maybe even resist bedtime a little bit. And that obviously can be a big issue. What I've heard a lot is that when a new baby is brought into the home, as your toddler grows older, they might actually be trying to get more attention, especially around bedtime, and they might start delaying their bedtime. And it's important, I think, to anticipate that. So that's something that we've been anticipating, that she would actually resist bedtime, resist going into her crib at night, possibly even throw a tantrum or have a fit over going to her bed, or she could do something like really sly and casual, like say she has to go to the bathroom because we are potty training and she doesn't actually have to go, she just doesn't want to go to bed. Just things like that. And obviously when we have a new baby, we're just gonna continue to need the structure and the routine that we've been doing with our daughter to kind of keep our home afloat and to at least help keep our daughter afloat. So it's important that her bedtime stays consistent, especially as we transition to having a totally different household with a new person in it. And so I do think this is more of a Montessori concept of having a slower bedtime. So instead of us saying, oh, it's 7 o'clock, let's rush you into bed and get you there as fast as possible, we are trying to integrate more time into our bedtime routine for reading books with our daughter, and even for trying to chat a little bit with her before she is supposed to go to bed. Obviously, she's only 20 months, so she can't hold a conversation, but we can at least talk to her and make her feel like she has our attention at the end of our day, so she's not kind of grasping for straws at the last minute. As she gets older, I do think it's important for kids to kind of like have like a wind down at the end of their day, and for you to ask them questions about their day so they can kind of look back and process it before bed. And so that is my intention long term, is to help her process her day at the end of the day during our bedtime routine. We've just been more intentional about spending that time with her, and we're even trying not to look at the clock so much. So even if we are running late and she's going to be in bed 30 minutes late or something crazy like that, it's so important to take the time to read with her and to talk to her and to not make her feel like we're just trying to shove her in her room so we can have an evening to ourselves. The second way I'm preparing our toddler is by giving her household chores. And this is not, I don't think, a topic Tracy Hogg really talks about at all, but it is a concept she explores with giving your child a sense of independence and a sense of worth around the home. it's important that we don't baby our children for too long. They are, I mean, technically she could still be considered a baby under 2 years old, but she's in this stage where she wants to be helpful and she wants to help me. Like, she sees me clean the house and she wants to help. And so I'm really, really leaning into that. So anytime I do a chore, I have her do it with me if she's interested. And obviously she doesn't have like a chore assigned to her that she can do independently completely on her own yet. But even if she's like carrying around her like milk and like spills a little bit on the ground, it's her responsibility. I hand her a paper towel and it's her responsibility to like wipe it up. And it's just small things like that that help her feel like she does have a sense of worth. And by leaning into her independence, she's kind of developing her own sense of like worth in the household as well. So giving her chores helps her to find a place in the household and helps her to feel like she has a sense of being and belonging according to her responsibilities that she has. Other things she helps with are like unloading our dishwasher. She helps me with like putting laundry in the dryer and in the washer. Yeah, it helps me wipe down surfaces when there's a mess. She tries to help me sweep, but she just makes a really big mess when she does it now, so I don't really love that. But she's responsible for throwing away her own trash, and pretty soon we're going to be teaching her how to set her own placemat at the table. So she has these just small tasks that just make her feel included. So it's not like, oh, mom's in the kitchen preparing lunch, please just stay away. It's, let me have you help me do this. And that is something a baby can't do. And so as she sees that she is different from her baby sister, she will have a greater sense of being and worth from that. And that role that she has in the house is clearly different from that of a baby's role. And that kind of bleeds into the third way I'm preparing my daughter. And it is really leaning into that sense of independence. So graduating her from baby things. I've been for months trying to not call her a baby, but it's really hard when you like call them a baby their whole life and then you have to like switch out of it. So I've been pointing out other babies in public and trying to make the distinction between her and them. And I try not, I don't call her a baby. I try my best not to. Essentially, my goal in that is to help her to not feel like she's being replaced by a new baby. And so with potty training, that's something with Tracy Hogg, she suggests starting at 9 months. I have lots of videos about how we started at 10 months. And also she's been in underwear for the last 2 months and she's basically fully potty trained at this point for the daytime. But doing that even and saying like, oh, diapers are for the night still, but even just having her distinction between diapers and big girl underwear makes her feel older and more mature. And the baby will be wearing diapers all the time, and that is kind of something that's fun for her. She, like, whenever we're around other children who are getting diaper changes, she thinks it's so interesting. And she just knows that there's a difference between that and what she's doing with the toilet. And so hopefully doing this early potty training is helping her to feel like she is a big girl and that she's not a baby, and that she can even help to care for the baby. And when her baby sister is old enough and we start doing early potty training with her, that's something she can have a role in helping to facilitate. Also with independence, things like stressing independent play. This is definitely something that Tracy Hogg talks a lot about in the book, is that it's important that we give our children, however much time during the day as we can to play independently. And that's something I've kind of struggled with a little bit. I thought it, meant I shouldn't be in the room or I shouldn't even be nearby while she's doing independent play. But obviously me like locking her in a room and hoping she'll play on her own isn't really something that's going to happen. Some children can do that pretty naturally. But whenever I do see my daughter engaging in independent play, even in the living room next to me, I can, go do the dishes in the kitchen where I can see her, and she's completely comfortable with that as long as I'm within view. But being able for me to get up and do things that I need to do, like when I have a baby and I need to breastfeed or change her diaper, or do other things, even just doing small chores that I definitely need to get done. Having my daughter be able to play, even just on her own for 10 to 15 minutes, even if it's in the same room, is going to be something that helps me in the long run. Depending on your child's age, there's obviously a big difference in how long they can do independent play for, but it's something that you probably can start doing around like 6 months or so, like just trying not to be in their face and making the play happen. And this kind of bleeds into Montessori a little bit here, where we should let our child do the exploring and we don't need to facilitate or teach them how to play. Playing is how they learn. So even if I see my daughter doing a puzzle wrong, it's my inclination to want to help her and to teach her, like, oh no, that piece doesn't go there. But she's going to figure it out on her own. So until she asks me for help, I try not to intervene, especially if she is doing it on her own. I almost feel bad for just kind of like ignoring her, but if she turns to me and asks me for help with the puzzle pieces, I'm going to help her. But if she doesn't ask, then there's no need for me to step in. I should totally let her have that independence and help her learn on her own. And that can apply to any toy at any age, really. So taking a step back from your child's play and just letting them feel out the world on their own is like the first step to them being able to have independent play. And you just want to watch for moments in your day where they start to play independently on their own, and you just want to encourage that by taking a step back and letting them do what it is that they want. Obviously, you should be nearby so that you can intervene if something is unsafe, but there's no need to be watching over their shoulder and breathing down their neck. You can try to read a book or do the dishes or do something little for yourself during that time. The fourth way is kind of the most simple, is we're just talking about the baby. We still need to like do our crib and to set that up, but as we do it, we're going to kind of include her in that. The crib is going to go in her room. We're hoping that they'll be able to share a room once the baby's out of the bassinet in our room. But just talking about the baby and saying there's going to be a baby coming soon. And whenever I point out a baby in public, I say, this is a baby, we're gonna have one of these really soon. And I know she doesn't know what I mean, like even seeing like my pregnant bump, she has no idea that there's a baby inside of there, no matter how much I explain it to her. Essentially just using the language of talking about a baby like she actually understands it and helping her to process it. So once the baby does come, maybe she'll be able to look back and understand more what we were trying to communicate. The last thing, the fifth thing that we are doing to help our daughter transition to having a baby sister is we are enforcing discipline. And we have been actually for some time, but it's really important now, I think, especially as a big transition is coming up in her life and in our lives too. And this is definitely something Tracy Hogg talks about, that it's important to discipline your children young. You can do it however you want. I'm not going to talk about specific methods because it's really up to you as a parent with what you're comfortable with. The discipline that you've experienced yourself as a child is also going to impact your view of what is good and what is not, and the things that you think are going to be helpful. So for us, discipline serves in this scenario to help set our daughter's expectations of what we expect of her and what we are requiring of her. So when she disobeys us after we tell her what she needs to do, then usually there's some form of discipline, and we try our best to be gracious and merciful in that and not to give out discipline too much. But hopefully, as she undergoes this transition to being an older sister, our expectations will remain the same of her and won't change too much. And so even if she does have some behavioral issues that come up as she tries to transition, then the expectations we have of her and the discipline that will happen will remain the same and will be constant. And it is definitely a big thing that people know that toddlers, especially as they get closer to 2, will try to push back against boundaries and be more resistant. So enforcing the boundaries that we already have and being as consistent as we can be as her parents in enforcing those boundaries and enforcing those rules is going to help her transition better and adjust faster to having our home and our lifestyle changed. So even if it does feel like everything else is changing, she knows that the rules are still the same, and that's what's important. It also, I believe, will help her feel more comfortable knowing that mom and dad are in charge. So if she's walking around ruling the house and a new baby comes in, she would totally like not know what to do. But because we've enforced the fact that mom and dad are in charge and that she has to obey us and listen to us, and we're the ones who are guiding her and leading her, then she knows that when we are introducing a baby or anything that's a huge life transition, that she can look to us for comfort and know that we are going to help her through this, and that she can just trust us and follow us, and everything will be okay in the end. So that's the end of my list of the 5 things that we're doing to help prepare our toddler for baby number 2. And a lot of those ideas do come from Tracy Hogg's book. So I definitely recommend reading them. She has a lot of wisdom sprinkled out throughout the book, especially when it comes to behavioral issues in toddlers. That is something that I'm really diving into personally lately. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Feel free to leave a comment below if you have any questions or things that you want to say about this topic, or any advice that you have if you've had 2 children or more children, and how you've helped to prepare the older ones for the arrival of the younger ones. Additionally, please subscribe so you can stay updated when new videos come out. I do plan to try my best to track how I handle things with my newborn, especially according with Tracy Hogg's plan, and especially when it comes to sleep, because I know that is the big thing that people have the most questions about, and that I had the most questions about when I had a newborn. So I am hopeful that I can get some videos out about that after our daughter is born. She is due in mid-November, so we'll see when she actually comes. But essentially, stay subscribed so that you can stay updated and get more information about that, especially if you are curious about how you can use Tracy Hogg's techniques and her book to help with your baby and your newborn. Thanks for watching.